Hello, this is David Papa, the personal injury guru, and on this show today we're going to be talking to Mara Gerber, who is the president and owner of Elite Home Care of Florida. And for those of you who don't know exactly what that means, we're going to explain that to you today. It's very important to know when you get into a bad accident and you may have surgery and you may have to go home, you might have different types of issues you're having trouble with different mechanisms they put on you, units, TENS units, things of that nature, or different ports in you that have to be either cleaned out or replaced. Instead of you having to do that yourself or go back into the doctor's office, this is a great opportunity to talk to Mara because her group Elite comes to you. And they have a group of people that are very kind and compassionate that come out to your home and help you after you've been in a bad automobile accident. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. That's our discussion on the Personal Injury Guru Show, coming up next.
This is the Personal Injury Guru Show with attorney David Papa.
Welcome back to the Personal Injury Guru Show. We're now going to talk to Mara, and she's going to explain to you where she came up with this incredibly good idea and how she can help people like yourself that have been involved in a bad accident that need help at home after your accidents and or surgeries.
Hi, Dave.
How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I think what you're doing is awesome. So why don't you tell everybody what you do exactly?
Yeah, of course. So I started Elite Home Care of Florida about 2.5 years ago. We're a medical rehabilitation in-home service, specifically focusing on personal injury accidents. I've been in the personal injury business for about 15 years now, and just kind of working with different doctors, different networks. I saw the need that a lot of patients weren't able to get the surgeries because they didn't have anybody to pick them up or any way to recover when they got home. So it kind of got me started thinking about, well, what kind of service would do that? And it was home health. And really seeing that there's not very many home health companies out there that focus on personal injury, I basically then, looked into what it does to start a home health care agency. And so kind of taking some of my knowledge and resources, I developed the home health care agency based around personal injury, got my first license 2.5 years ago in Pinellas and Pasco, and then went after my second license in Hillsborough, Manatee, and Polk. And as of last week, we're able to do Sarasota to Naples.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You see, folks, this is very important because just because you get home after a serious accident, you're hurting. You've got a lot of issues that you have to contend with. Give us some of the details maybe of the types of injuries and how you treat them at home.
Sure. Well, we have a staff full of nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, CNAs, home health aides, and I hire specific skilled clinicians that only focus and have experience with personal injuries, surgeries, aftercare, and the rehabilitation of that. And so what we do is we work with a lot of the doctors and orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, even chiropractors that, find the need for the patient to receive those services in home. So right now we've been focusing a lot on the after surgery care because some of these surgeries require drains, wound care, everything from medication, management down to pain management. And we're able to then go into the patient's home and pull the drains, address, make sure there's no infection. And then we're able to report that back to the doctor about the patient's care.
And that's a great thing because typically people would have to go back to the doctor's office to have these things done. And it can be one hell of an inconvenience if you're not well and you're not doing or feeling well that day, even getting into a car, driving to the doctor, or having someone do that for you.
Absolutely.
Then getting back home. You take care of it right at their house.
Yep. Absolutely. This way, patients have the opportunity to get the surgery. A lot of patients actually don't get their surgery because they feel, well, who's going to take care of me afterwards? Or I don't have someone to pick me up and take me home after the surgery, and who's going to, help me, get in the shower or make me a meal. So that's where then the home health aides come into place.
Wow, that's awesome. And this is something very important. A lot of my clients know this, that you've gotten home and you ask the same questions to me over and over, which is, if I have this surgery, how am I going to handle things at my house? How am I going to do these things? I don't know anything about dressing aids for the bandages and things of that nature. I don't know about these TENS units. I don't know about these other drains and ports. And they're very afraid of that. That's something people are afraid of because it's new and it's different to them.
Yeah, exactly. So another surgery that we've been focusing a lot on is extremity surgeries. Because when you get into some of these knee replacement, hip replacements, ankles, different things where they need to start physical therapy, like as soon as the surgery is done later that day or next day, and we're able to provide that, send the nurse out and do like a wellness check, and then we send the PT out immediately afterwards to begin physical therapy on these patients, because this way it enables them to, heal correctly instead of having to try to get back to the outpatient therapy center.
This is great. And there is such a need for this. I've been doing this for 20 years. And typically I've not seen anybody come forward as you have with this type of a plan to help people when they've been home after a surgery or anything of that nature. And it's really brilliant.
Yeah. And it's not only surgeries we focus on. There's so many different kinds of accidents out there, traumatic, catastrophic accidents where the patient, is that injured in the beginning where they need to go home and they need the help and care. We just had a lady a couple weeks ago where, horrible accident, and she was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Her legs were all swollen, could barely walk, can barely move, and they had to put her into a rehabilitation center. And she was absolutely miserable there. She wanted to be with her loved ones, recovering, and, in her own home and setting. And so through my services, we were able to bring her home and do the PT and send the CNA out every day to help her.
And that's something that you just touched on, which really, really is something that's prevalent in the PI industry. People going to these rehab centers, and I don't have anything against the rehab centers, but boy, you hit around the nose. I'd much rather be on my couch with my flicker, watching TV with my beagles, rather than having to worry about being in a facility with a lot of other people that are suffering. It's just got that ill hospital feeling to it when you're at these facilities, even the nicer ones.
Right.
It's difficult to get past. And then people might not want to visit you now. They've got strict regulations with COVID where you can't have guests, people can't visit you. When you're at home, it opens up a whole new ballgame. I mean, people can now have the surgery, go home, and you guys come right in and take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great plan.
Absolutely. And besides physical therapy, we also do occupational therapy.
So if you could tell our audience, what's the difference between physical and occupational therapy?
Well, physical therapy, is rehabilitating the injury itself with the muscles and, whatever has been injured, and kind of getting it back into strength and range of motion and in use. Whereas occupational therapy is, once that's done, is then getting the person's muscles and whatever the injured is to the daily activities that they're doing. So for instance, if somebody has a wrist surgery, they can do some physical therapy to get their range of motion and get it working again. But then things like typing or daily activities in laundry, that's where then it's a different kind of therapy the occupational therapists do for their daily activities.
Okay, and you cover both of those.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I can see how that works hand in hand, but there are definitely slight differences there.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And as far as how long have you been doing this now? How long has this been going on?
Well, the company is going 2.5 years now, and we're actually starting a workers' comp division because we focus on all different kinds of injuries. So we feel that just kind of complements it because we hired all of our clinicians specifically to handle all kinds of injuries. So.
Okay, so when you get, if someone gets hurt, they get injured, they go into Dr. Smith or Dr. Jones, and they have surgery, and they're sent home. How do they find out about you?
Sure, their doctor's office usually is the most one writing the script and recommending the home care. Or sometimes the patients will, ask the doctor, can I get home care? I'm not able to do X, Y, and Z, and I need the clinicians to come to me for whatever reasons. And that's where then the doctor would write the script and refer it out to us.
Okay, so you work very close with the doctors.
Right. We do educational speaks, meetings, drop off information to doctor's office and make them aware of our services. Because, you do have a variety of different kinds of home care that focus on different kinds of health care for the patients, whereas ours is just that specific niche for personal injuries. And the way our billing is done, we work with the settlement, we work with the PIP, and billing that.
Okay, and for those of you who don't know what the PIP is, I've been over this on other shows. The PIP is the Personal Injury Protection Benefits under your own policy, which covers these medical bills. And that's what this group covers. It goes through your PIP. Or we can do letters of, do you do letters of protection as well?
We do accept letters of protection from the attorneys, and we sign that with the patient, because we understand some of these health insurance companies may not cover this. They, consider that since it's a liability suit, that should be covering the bills. And that's where then other home healthcare agencies turn down the case, and the person doesn't have the opportunity then to rehabilitate at home.
Okay, so what they're talking about here with letters of protection, it's simple. If you get into an accident and your PIP is now gone because you've had enough medical treatment where it's gone to that $10,000 level, after that, if you still need more care, what the attorney can do is determine the value of your case, make sure that there's going to be enough money left at the end of your case to do a letter of protection. It's a signed document, a contract, if you will, between the patient, myself as the attorney, and Mara. And what they do is say, you don't have to pay us now. We will get paid when your suit is settled. That way, you're guaranteed of still getting their services without having to come out of pocket, which is very, very, very important because a lot of people ask that question, how can I afford the extra home care? This is how.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And we're offering a different variety of services. We're expanding out now and dealing with more traumatic brain injuries. Because there's different kinds of therapies that can be done at some of the testing offices, but when people live far away or if they've had a traumatic brain injury, the last thing they need to be is driving to these offices to do therapy. And that's where then our physical therapy and our occupational therapists help out the patient with craniosacral massages, little V&G therapy online to help the patient's brain recover with everything.
Okay, explain a little bit, go into depth if you could with that, because those are very important issues. And I know I've had clients with TBIs. We've sent them to certain doctors, but they're a little bit of a distance. You don't find these doctors everywhere. They're not
Right.
a dime a dozen. You only find a couple different places. So explain a little bit more what you're talking about.
Well, basically, when it came to testing before, it was basically an MRI or a CAT scan and a simple couple physical tests they do on a patient to discover that you have a concussion, or the MRI is reading that there could be a traumatic brain injury here. And the doctors, there was very little therapies that were developed at the time to help a person heal.
Right.
So now, just through different technologies, they've developed all these online things that they do with the patient and testing and stuff with their brains and their eyes to kind of help heal and strengthen. So it's a physical therapy then you're utilizing. And then our occupational therapists do a craniosacral therapy underneath to kind of release the tension and just help everything flow when it comes to this. It depends every case, obviously.
Right, because folks, people don't realize this. When you get a concussion, if you don't have any type of a bleed or anything of that nature, and it's just maybe a grade 1 or a slightly grade 2 concussion where you've got dizziness, nauseousness, light sensitivity, things of that nature, there's not been a lot of therapies that people do. And a lot of times they say you've just got to wait it out.
Right.
So this is an opportunity to get some therapy for it.
Right, correct. Yes.
Okay, well that's very important. Okay, if you'd like, spend the next few moments, do you have anything you want to say about your company and how they can reach you? Just let them know.
Yeah, absolutely. Really just don't think home care is just for old people. That's the biggest misconception that I was running into when I was approaching some of these doctors and clinics with this. And they're like, oh, my patient's not old.
Right.
They don't need it, blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, when they talk to the patients and offer it up or say, we have a medical service that can come to your home and the next day after your surgery, patients were actually jumping on the opportunity to get this service.
Right.
So really talk to your doctors about having this service and using these opportunities, especially with everything going on and traveling. The person's just been in a car accident and then they're being told now they have to go to therapy 3 times a week and go over here and go over there. And it's just, can be exhausting for them as well.
Yep.
And it's just nice they have the option to recuperate from home. So.
Great. So what's the best way to find you other than the doctors writing prescriptions for you?
Sure. I have a website, obviously, and a Facebook. I can give out my information and everything
Let them
right now.
have it. Let them have it. Let them have it.
Sure. You can call our office at 727-873-3947. Also, our website is www.elitehomecareflorida, which is spelled out, .com. And then, either way, we would pick up the phone or however our information is on our website on how to contact us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. If you need that type of treatment at home, or if you feel it will be beneficial to you, talk to your attorney, talk to your doctor, and ask about this type of service, because you're not seeing this type of service anywhere else. And I think it's very valuable because A, it takes people out of the afraid of, I want to have surgery, but I don't want to be home alone. I don't know how to handle this. And B, it keeps you away from the rehab centers into your own home, and you're getting excellent care. So this is something to keep in mind. I hope that educates everyone today on this issue. We should be right back on the Personal Injury Guru Show. Welcome back to the Personal Injury Guru Show. And today we had a great discussion, and home health care is something that is really breaking new into this system here with personal injury. In 20 years, I haven't seen much of it myself. And there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes you have to run through your health insurance and they don't approve it. And then you're kind of at the mercy of your health insurance companies rather than what should be your own personal decisions. Today, through your doctor, you can actually get this prescription to go over to Elite, and they can take care of you, as Mara said. And that's important because we told you that they get paid through the personal injury protection benefits, or they get paid by letters of protection. So you're covered without having to use your insurance, and you're going to get excellent coverage here. She does a great job. Her whole group is very good, and I highly recommend them. So I think today we've learned a little bit more than I actually knew, which is I'm going to start talking to my surgeons about using Elite, because I know a lot of the people in my circle that say, hey, look, when your patients come home from surgeries, what really happens to them? Well, family members don't want to deal with these types of injuries, and you're stuck really going to these rehabilitation centers, and I just think they're not conducive to getting better. You'd rather be home. When you're at home, you feel a lot better about getting better and being well. And they come right to your house, and they just take care of you the way you should be taken care of. And now it's your choice. So use it and talk to your doctors about that. If you've been watching us on podcasting, we are on the platforms of Google, Spotify, Pandora, and Apple. If you have any comments or any suggestions for me, you can reach me at dpapa@papainjurylawyer.com, or what you can do is you can find me just simply by Googling Papa Injury Law. You can call me at 727-500-LAWS. I'll be happy to talk to you at any time. And if you like this, hit the like button. Also share this if you don't mind, and certainly subscribe. We really appreciate that. We are here to teach you about personal injury law, and today I think you've learned a new facet of it, which means once you're done with your surgery, you're not alone. This group will come in, Elite, and they'll take care of you, and that's important for you to know. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time on the Personal Injury Guru Show.